With that, I want to embark on this journey with you and prioritize not only technology, but our invaluable human capital that supports that. With that, it's my honor to introduce Dr. Tonjia Coverdale, SVP and Chief Strategy Officer at member company Associated Bank. She brings a rich academic and professional background to share with us today. Tonjia holds a PhD in Business Administration with a specialization in Information Systems from Morgan State, an MBA in Computer and Information Systems from Georgia State, and a Bachelor's of Information Systems from Morgan State as well. Dr. Coverdale seamlessly blends academic theory with practical application. With experience from Nationwide Insurance and now Associated Bank, she will spotlight the essential role of human talent in steering successful transformations. In her talk, Human Architecture, navigate this insightful journey with me as we bring Dr. Coverdale to the stage, and placing people at the forefront of technology will be what she focuses on today.
Thank you so much.
Went the wrong way. There we go.
Okay.
So it's kind of counterintuitive if I go that way to go forward.
Oh, that is counterintuitive. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. The room is filled up since I sat down in the front. I appreciate all of you being here today. A special appreciation to our Associated Bank team that is sitting here in the front. I'm so excited to be able to share a few things with you. I guess you know you're back and affiliated with the academic context when they call you Dr. Coverdale. I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I've been Tonjia every day, but I think I can get used to being Dr. Coverdale again. And another note before I get started, if anyone of you did a LinkedIn search prior to me coming today, and you see that I actually live in Columbus, Ohio, do not hold it against me. I am not a Buckeyes fan. Okay, all right, so now that we've established those ground rules, excited to talk to you about human architecture today. I worked on this presentation with our EVP and CIO, Terry Williams, and he's not able to join us today, but just really thrilled because from a presentation sketched on some Post-it notes and a conversation that we were having, we were really able to strategize and try and figure out what does it really mean for us in the post-pandemic era to move our businesses forward. And I know we're talking about information technology on a track today, but there is so much more behind that that I think we need to really key into, and it's the people behind the process. And so during COVID, we really experienced a huge technological change. We had to stop any innovation really and just focus on our business critical needs and transferring to a remote workforce. It was just sort of mission critical and everyone was trying to survive. And now, though, as you know, I'm assuming that I'm in a room full of people who are technology keen, technology continues to evolve. And as we were all doing mission critical work, technology was continuing to move forward. And so now we have to catch up. And I'm sure you're feeling a lot of that. Generative AI, anyone? It's all these things that are happening. And now we're like, how do we even deal with that? How do we even catch up? And so the journey forward, the secret sauce is going to be in our people. Not necessarily the technology that we embrace, but the people who are going to empower and enable the technology that we embrace. And so tech overload is a common theme, right? And in order to ride this wave of change and not drown in all of it, we've got to put more focus on our human architecture. So now here's another level setting slide. Although this is an IT track, we're not going to be talking about cloud computing, digital transformation, IoT, anything as a service. None of that today. We're going to put that aside. All of those are important, but really we want to focus on the people. Don't revoke my technology card. I am still a technologist, but again, when we're talking about information systems, going back to my professor days, we want to talk about there's process, there's procedures, there's hardware, there's software, there's data, and there's people. And so we generally focus on the technology part, but we don't realize that there are two sorts of inputs and outputs on the external context of the technology. So we have people who determine the inputs of the system. So this is our workforce, right? So all of you, all of us who sit down every day and actually execute on the work on the input. And then there are our customers or our clients or our partners or whoever it is who are the beneficiaries of all of the technology. Okay, these are the people on both ends that we really need to be talking about. So what human architecture is, if we were to define it, it is the people-focused view that organizations should take toward enabling digital futures. And so there are 5 things that we can focus on when we're thinking about human architecture. Firstly is embedding strategic thinking around everything. So we've gotten into this react mode in technology. And so now it's time to take a step back and really think about, why are we even doing this? What is the purpose of this process or this tool or this platform or this whatever? Why are we even doing this? Not because we went to a conference and it was cool, but there's got to be some sort of human focus, people focus, embedded reason why. And secondly, recognizing that we tend to be very delivery focused. We want to hit our sprints, we want to clear those JIRA cards, but that really shouldn't be our focus right now. Understanding and adoption is probably even more important than hitting those delivery milestones. Because here's why. I can hit the milestones and meet our deliverables and our releases and our sprints, but if our users and partners and customers are not adopting the technology that we just put in front of them, then we just wasted a lot of time and money, right? So we really need to sort of shift our thinking to more of a people-focused, outcome-based flow. Thirdly, we've got to have the right people. I know in every room I go in right now, everyone's talking about, you can call it upskilling, reskilling, right skilling, whatever you call it is something skilling. How do we develop a sustainable workforce with a focus on learning agility? Because, okay, I can teach you generative AI today. In 2 years, it's going to be something else. We don't even know what it is because I don't even think we saw Gen AI coming from left field. Maybe some of us did, but the way it has impacted and will continue to impact us in the short term, we didn't see that coming. And on the deck somewhere, there's probably another trend or another sort of tool coming that we need to be ready to learn. So how do we focus on learning agility? Fourthly, aligning the technical workforce with a business goal. So newsflash everybody, think about whatever company you work for. So like this is your second to participate silently. Whatever company you are, so we work at a bank, we're not really a bank. We are a technology company that delivers financial service products. And your company is the same. If you work in healthcare, you are a technology company that manages the care of people. Everything we do is enabled by technology. I bet you can't really think of many processes that are critical that are non-technology based. So because of that, we have to understand that we are business people first, and technology is just a tool. It's just a tool that we use to meet the business's goals. And when you put people and customers first, what you have is greater design empathy. So this concept of design empathy is, if I'm a developer and I know I understand my path to the customer, I know that I am on the digital team and I am developing this new release for our Zelle capability, and I understand that we want to make it more easy and seamless for a busy mom in her car to send a Zelle at the light. I understand my customer, so I understand how I should design this. It's not just hitting the sprint. It's putting more purpose behind our design. And finally, we've got to be psychologically safe. We are at a time where every opinion matters. Every opinion can add value. And so we need to create cultures that allow for ideas to come from the bottom up, right to left, left to right, diagonal. It doesn't matter. An idea is an idea, and it can be executable. And so I just talked about our tech team, but the stakeholder impact is real. Business stakeholders are a huge part of the human architecture. So if we were designing this on an architectural chart, if I had a big old whiteboard right here, I would definitely have stakeholders right there at the table with us. Because when they're not bought in and they don't understand the value, that can create so much pushback that can actually impede us from meeting our goals together. So the connection between technology and people, how can we get everybody on board, is to really address the fear. So in this graphic, you see that we have fear in the middle of everything. Why don't people adopt technology? Why don't people share their really great idea? Why don't people push back? It's because they're afraid of something. And so fear is really the stories that we tell ourselves about an unknown. But why do we assume that this unknown is a negative unknown? Just like we told ourselves that this is a negative unknown, we have a 50% chance of this being a positive unknown. So first, flipping the script on our thought processes and thinking positively and forward thinking can help us combat fear from the beginning. So let's talk about this cycle here, okay? The first thing is doubt and skepticism. What is this thing? I don't know about this Gen AI. I don't know about this insert technology name here. Secondly is, well, I learned about it and I just don't think it'll work for us because of whatever. Third, we'll try it, but only on this. We'll only break this over here. And fourthly, you get over the fear and you have widespread adoption. And so why am I even spending time talking about fear when I'm talking about technology adoption? It's because there are people behind the fear. The platform doesn't have a fear. Your tools don't have fear, but they can't adopt themselves either. Your app doesn't have fear. Your website doesn't have fear, but the people on either end, in our case, maybe it's a new customer, or potential new customer on the external end, and on the internal end, maybe it's a developer, maybe it's a senior executive. Somebody's fear is stopping the technology adoption process. This is why we have to focus on people. Okay, so here I have some illustrative examples, and I want you to think of one too, because I'm going to ask you all for your thoughts. So here's what it looks like in the internet. So way back in the days, like 30 years ago or so, some of us were getting on the internet, some of us were in number one, doubt and skepticism. I don't trust internet. I'm not putting my business on there. I can't, and the internet is a fad. It's not going to change the world, whatever. Information superhighway is just stupid. And then some people like us, because I know we were all the first adopters. I just feel that first adopter energy in here. We jumped in, and then we were like, well, I put my stuff in there, but I'm probably being watched by the government. And it's just a way to keep tabs on us. And the internet is not safe. I'm on here because I have to be, because my job is making me get an email account, but it's not safe, and we're at risk. And then we see that it wasn't all that bad. We move on to cautious adoption. Well, I only use it for shopping and browsing. I only shop for certain things on the internet, not everything, just a little bit. I'm never banking online. I'm glad people got over that. We'd be in trouble. I'm never banking online, but I will go order my kids' pictures because that's the only way the school said to do it. And it's just a day-to-day requirement, but yeah, I'm gonna go to the mall. I'm not shopping online. I have to try on the clothes. And where are we now? I do everything. Listen, I can't live without the internet. I'm dying because my phone is over there, okay? I'm struggling right now. I feel like I am missing out. FOMO is real on this stage right here, okay? I need the internet. And none of us will be able to do our jobs without the internet. So you see how this cycle, if we would have let the fear consume us, we would never be able to really understand and experience the robustness that this technology adoption would have for our businesses. And then I have one more example, cloud computing. You can see here some of the things. You see how we cycled through cloud computing. And I'm sure we have similar cycles in your head as you're thinking about any other technology adoption. The point is, we have to address the underlying people on both ends, or we will never be successful as we can possibly be in our technology implementations. So what does good human architecture look like? It looks like empathy. Empathy towards the workforce, empathy towards our customers, empathy on both ends through proper preparation. And there are some obstacles, so we have to learn in this new world to engage our work from home culture. We have to address technology debt. We have to address retention issues. We have to address this tech overload, perception of pay inequity. There's lots of things we have to address when we're creating a good and sound sustainable human architecture. So tech debt, you're thinking, okay, well, how does tech debt have to deal with human architecture? I thought we were talking about people and not technology. Well, when we don't address tech debt, we have more people working on ideas and on processes and projects that are not moving the business forward, frankly. We're taking people, valuable people with valuable ideas, and we're putting them on things that's not going to make our companies any money and is not going to move our people forward in their thought processes and their thought leaderships and their value add. So we've got to remove tech debt so we can move people on and help them realize their critical thinking value and give them more and help them become more valuable technologists for themselves. We have to look at salary, how we're paying our workforce. And we also need to really embrace the remote workforce. So I know we probably have a mix in the room. I think companies are still trying to figure it out, but I think what we can all agree on is that some level of hybrid or remote is here to stay, probably for a long time coming. I think we can all agree. What it looks like looks different, but it's going to be here. So we need to be intentional about creating structures in our organizations that's going to be engaging to our remote and hybrid workers. And there are some benefits. So I have here benefits to our colleagues and to our employees. But how does that translate into benefits for you? So think about it. If you have a colleague who does not have a commute, that colleague is probably less stressed. That means that person is more open when he or she comes to work and more available to learn and to embrace all that it is that you're there to do. Flexible schedule, flexible location. This colleague likely can utilize that to not be so stressed about family pressures or other pressures that he or she may have. That leaves them more open to performing. Okay, so we want to look at it as it's not one-sided and everybody just gets benefits as employees, but the company gets so many more intangible benefits from embracing and engaging the remote workforce. And then finally, we know all about this. Your boss read an article about new technology and all of a sudden you have to implement. That happens, but you have to manage the expectations. Again, this is all people. You have to manage his or her expectations. So how do we overcome the fear cycle? We have a 4-step process called EASY. The goal is, if you have someone who's fearful and you say, hey, if we adopt this particular technology set or whatever it is, we'll make your job easier. Because again, you have already thought about, you're doing empathy-based thinking. You're thinking about the output and how it's going to impact your customers, whether they're internal or external. The goal is to share, we're going to make your life easy or easier. Now, show of hands, has anyone ever met someone when you say, we're going to make this easier for you? They're just like, yeah, no, I don't want it to be easier. Have you ever had that? You probably have teenage kids. Yeah, they're the only people, well, at least my teens, they don't care about wanting to make their life easier. But anyway, we want to make things easy. So what does the E stand for? Educate. First, you need to build awareness of the technology and impact. Hey, senior executive team, hey, partners, I know you've been reading about generative AI. Here's a white paper. Here's what it looks like. Let me control the narrative before they start controlling the narrative and coming up with fearful thoughts in their head. Demonstrate the value. Create the right forums for discourse. Let's talk about it. You have any questions? Let's have a lunch and learn. Okay? Before people are getting fear in their minds, we're getting in front of it and saying, let me share with you what we know. Encourage learning agility. Here are some courses you can take. Here's an article you can read. Educate yourself about said technology. A is to acclimate. So, okay, now you've learned about it. Let's try some things. Let's test and learn. It doesn't matter if we fail. We're just playing. We're just seeing what we can do. We already learned that this has some potential value for us, but so let's put together some labs, some playgrounds, some sandboxes where we can try new things that we learned about. And then when things work, celebrate them. Have a huge party, whether it's in a newsletter or whatever way you communicate in your companies. Hey, we tried this new test case, use case for Gen AI, and this is what it did. This is exciting. Now more people are going to get on board because they're not as afraid. They're laggards, but they're not as afraid because they're seeing that it works. The S is to separate. You've got to continue to control the narrative by separating the facts from the fiction. People are always going to say, yeah, but I read, oh, and I saw this on Google, and the internet said this. Here are the facts. And so keeping them on pace with you as you're learning more and distinguishing the fact from fiction is going to be very, very helpful. Change management has to be transparent and clear because people are afraid, especially our frontline colleagues are afraid of new technologies because the narrative is AI is going to take your job. Right? And they're scared. They're like, I'm not going to help you with this test to learn because I'm testing and learning myself out of a job. They're not going to do it. So you have to be transparent and say, this is why we are doing this. No, it's not going to take your job away. In fact, if your job does go away because we've realized some efficiency and value, we have a path forward that will have you learn more, add more value because you are a valued colleague. Oh, okay, well, that's nothing for me to be afraid about now because I'm part of the change. The change is not happening to me. I am happening with the change. And then finally, the why is why are we even doing this? Going back to the beginning. You can't say you want to implement a new technology because you saw it somewhere. That's not the answer. There's got to be some real value to either or. The people who are inputting to the ecosystem, so our workforce, the people who are receiving from the ecosystem, our customers, whether they're internal or external. When you put it in a people-centered context, we as people tend to understand why we're doing this. And it's not because we want to cut costs. Wrong answer. And it's not because we want to be more efficient. Wrong answer. And it's not because we want to be number one in the market. Wrong answer. That's abstract and it's fearful. It's fear-inducing. Put people at the center of all of your explanations. We got to move fast or fall behind. And people are going to say, why not keep things the way they are? Well, I don't know. I could have taken a horse and buggy from Ohio yesterday, but I probably wouldn't be here yet. So we can't always keep things the way they are. So just really having that change management. So here's what it looks like in practice. At Associated Bank, we are preparing to embrace fully generative AI. And so we have examples of each stage. So in Educate, we're working on an internal white paper for our senior executives to help them understand what it is, what they're reading, separating fact from fiction. We are in Acclimate in the process of gathering business cases from all levels of the organization. That's so important, all levels. If you are a teller and you have a great use case for generative AI, we want to hear it. It's not just me and Brendan over here. It's everybody, okay? Because we're creating a culture, paradigmatic shift to acclimate everybody to this new technology. We're bringing everybody as a part of it. Separate, again, the campaign, not taking your jobs. This is not the plan. So let's let that fear go. Communication is important. And then why? Why are we doing this? Well, it goes back to our core purpose. We want to be the Midwest premier financial services company for our customers. And this is going to help us differentiate ourselves to get there. So that's what easy looks like in practice. So I have a few minutes left and I wanted to make it a little bit more interactive and so prepare your questions. But in closing, I am just so thrilled to be able to share this presentation with you all today. And here's why. I've been in the field for 26, 27 years. And in the beginning, especially as I was studying for my PhD, everything was so tech focused. Everyone wanted to talk about data models, and no one kept the people first. The fact that we're even here, and if you notice, both of your tracks this morning are talking about people, is very, very encouraging. It's encouraging that you're here. I know you're going to take this back. I know you're going to go and make things easy for people in your companies, and it's just been such my honor and pleasure to be here today. So thank you so much. And FYI, all of the images were created with Gen AI, so it was pretty fun doing that.
Yeah, so questions, there's mic runners in the back here that will get that to you. We just want our online audience to be able to hear the questions in the room today, and then they'll also be helping us surface any questions that have come in from the online folks. So ask away.
Any questions? Oh, I see a hand in the back.
What are some of the earliest great ideas that you're getting from all levels around Gen AI and improving the people process at Associated Bank?
Yes, a lot of it is coming from, traditional chat functions. So our frontline, that's why I brought up the teller example, because they're coming up with ways that they can even interact better as someone comes up to them in a branch. Maybe there's more than, okay, this is your balance, this is, when your deposit's going to clear. They want to be able to have a more meaningful conversation with our customers. So they're wondering if there's other ways we can sort of use the data that we already have to help them say, anything like, hey, so for example, me, I'm a customer and my son just went to college. They would probably know that because I opened up an account for my son who's in college. How's your son doing in college? Does he need anything? Anything that will help them feel more connected to our customers.
So this morning we saw, if you were in this track earlier, yourself and that track, it was all technology people up there talking about people. What is your engagement with, or you've seen engagement from an HR perspective driving this same conversation?
I think HR partners across the board have been very excited about this because I feel like they have been in tandem with technology organizations for a long time, just really driving that culture and tech more focused on delivery. So I will say that we're seeing greater partnerships, especially in that workforce outreach and helping to define the type of people we need to come in, as well as the type of people we need to retain, and how to create structures to elevate who's already there. So I'm definitely seeing a lot more partnership between HR and tech. It's pretty fun. Any other questions?
We did have one come in online. Glenn asked, what are your thoughts about how to address everyone is busy as an excuse for lack of business ownership and engagement?
Oh, I like that. And thank you, online participants, for actually participating. I would say we need greater prioritization. Everybody's busy. I'm busy, but I'm here today. They're busy, but they're here today. So what is important to you? Going back to the why. And then prioritize what really needs to get done, what might need to get done, what should get done, and what could get done later. So using the easy and really anchoring on the why to help you sift through what needs to happen and when, I think can definitely help us move things forward. And then again, okay, find business partners, because I know that's who you're talking about, Glenn. You're talking about business partners, okay? So find business partners. I know you're busy. I was just trying to help make your job easy and understanding their goals. I see you have this margin you're trying to achieve. We can achieve that with this technology, but you're busy, so don't worry about it. Wait, we have to.
What is the best way to work with advocates and supporters in your business? Maybe this will help. What are you finding is the best way to to help work with advocates and supporters from your business partners when you're trying to introduce something new?
You have to bring them to the table early and let them be part of the decision-making process. So as technologists, we have to relinquish a little bit of the control, because a lot of times we like to come to the table and say, this is the solution, we researched this works with our environment, this works with our architecture, we're using this. And that is going to, again, induce that fear because this person doesn't know anything about it. So when you're bringing them to the table early and say, hey, we have this idea, let me run it by you. We think that this particular platform can help you with very concrete goals. This is where you have to understand their goals. And we'd like to do a test and learn to see what you think about it. You generally get more buy-in because they don't feel like it's happening to them. Think about it, none of us like anything to happen to us, just in regular life. We just don't like people making decisions. It's natural human nature. So bringing them to the table, being more conversational about it, still having your subject matter expert position, but lightening it a little bit so they don't feel like you're just telling them this is what we're doing. Any other questions? There's one over here.
So say you were in an environment where the early adoption didn't happen. How would you help bring people to the table and have those conversations to increase adoption and buy-in?
I love that question because it doesn't always happen that way. So first we want to see where were the points of failures and be open and honest about it. A lot of times we're afraid to face our failures. We can learn from them. And ask your business partners, well, we didn't adopt this because we didn't have enough training, the interface wasn't what we expected, the experience, whatever it was, you need to know that. In your next iteration, take that into consideration. So it goes back to the last question. You've got to really have a true partnership with your business partner so you know what they think. When they see themselves in the solution, they're more apt to adopt it. One way in the back. You all are engaged. I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm curious if you have any suggestions about moving to a competitor's technology, like an organization that likes a solution they have, but there being a strong business case for moving to a sort of parallel product that offers more integration or more sort of fits the ecosystem better or has some cost savings. But this is sort of a beloved tool over here. How do I get people to let go of their love of that and recognize the benefits of this?
Again, back to easy. I know you love this tool. It's great. It's worked for us in the past. Here is the case for this one, and it generally has to be like a with them. What's in it for them? It can't be, we like it, we want a common chassis, we want to do application rationalization. It has to be something in it for this person who's going to use this every day, who's going to have the aha moment to say, oh yeah, I think I can try it. And then don't force it on them. Again, let me show you how System A does it, System B does it, and if you are convinced that it is easier, then they'll see that in that process, and then they're like, oh, okay. And then also having lots of training, because a lot of the fear is, but I know this, and I don't have time to learn this, and I don't even know if I can. So when you build your change management program, be sure you're building in a phased approach for sunsetting A to B, and also hand-holding training throughout. Too many times we throw users in the pool and just say swim without life vests or anything, and that's counterintuitive to human architecture. Empathy. We have to think about if we were them, would we want somebody to just say, in 30 days we're going to learn something new? No. So just really having that empathy lens and bringing them along after you have the easy proposition.
So you have talked quite a bit about having business partners, people that are going to be using the systems and the services that you're implementing or improving. What is your thought if sometimes there is this trend in the IT world where they like the status quo? They like, okay, this is a trusty system, a mainframe that has given us all the information. It works, it's reliable. We know if it breaks, we know how to fix it. But there's other better things. And sometimes you have, to convince an IT person to say, hey, yeah, that mainframe is excellent. It has worked for 30 years plus. But, there's this other technology out here that can save us time. It might have some time you might need to learn it, and it might break every so often, but, it's newer. So that is the part that I think you've been focusing on business partners, but how do you convince your IT people that have these strong attachments to systems that are reliable to some degree?
The easy principle works the same. So first you have to help them understand, why are we even doing this? If we're doing this because it's newer, that's generally not a good enough reason for someone to really want to open their minds and understand the value proposition. So dig down into some metrics to show where the concerns are with this mainframe. Is it latency? Is it downtime? Why do you even want to consider this new technology for this? If it's still running fine, then maybe it's not a priority and that person is right. But if you've noticed that it needs to be prioritized for change, you have to be very concrete in helping them understand that and how it impacts them. So hey, you know how your team keeps getting these P0s, 3 o'clock in the morning calls because of this? Yeah, we can cut down on that by 35%. And you don't have to be on call so much. Like, you've got to make it how it impacts them. And then that's how they start to at least open their mind and come around and understand. And then again, to show that as we're sunsetting this, you are our expert on how we go from point A to point B. We can't get to point B without your knowledge on how we can do this safely. So a lot of times it's positioning them as SMEs as we're moving to the next phase as well, and then bringing them along with training. But that's a very difficult thing to do, so you've got to work really hard to show them the why. The why has to be very concrete. Anyone else? Okay. Are we it? Is that it? I don't want to go.
Excuse me, awesome. Thank you so much. Great questions, great interactions. Thank you for taking the stage.
Thank you.